What's happening, YouTube? Flash Speaks back, man. Another video. All right, this is something that I do every now and again. I haven't done in about a year or so, but I will sometimes respond to some of the comments of people who commented on my videos via this way, because sometimes they're either too long or too much going on. So a lot of times I'll just make a video where they get to hear me respond to what they may have said this way. It's just better for me, much more, instead of me just ignoring them or something like that. But first, we're going to start with this guy, right? Calls the name all about the truth. Now, first thing with you, because of the way you comment, I don't know. I think you have a burner account or something. You might be Jason Whitlock or one of these damn people or something like that. I don't know. But really, I'm going to show why. I'm going to give an example to those who may be watching this video as to why I'm not going to engage you very long. Okay, because you've been commenting for about a week or so on videos of mine, which I appreciate the participation. I really do. But one of my pet peeves, and I thought that I made this clear in the video, is when someone refutes a position of mine, or they try to refute me, but they end up refuting stuff that I didn't say. I don't like that. I don't like people putting words in my mouth. I don't like people making assumptions about me that I didn't say without evidence and stuff like that. So, and I'm going to give an example so these people understand. First off, you start off disrespectfully. I told you these videos are comedy gold. That's fine. I don't mind the disrespect. Reese was the one who started. She wanted to be the villain, stated she wanted to be the villain, so she acts like one, and the fans give the obvious expected reaction. You come on here, try to say, all right, see, this is the problem with that, right? Yeah, Angel Reese did say I'll play the villain, because what she was doing is marketing strategy, capitalizing on the fact that the media is using the Caitlin Clark Angel Reese thing. All right, and Angel Reese is smart, and she understands that it's all about attention. Okay, now the problem is when the attention goes too far and turns into like death threats or attacks on the person personally that have nothing to do with the game. Like, you never heard me actually address some of the fans who go out there and they'll say put together a compilation of missed free throws of Angel Reese or something like that. Why? Because, I myself want Angel Reese to improve in that area. I don't really mind any of that stuff. All right. The problem is that the Angel Reese attacks go beyond that. They cross the line, right? And if you don't know that, then you have an issue. You have a problem. The other problem with what you're doing here is you're taking someone who's like victimized by a group of people who are doing a person wrong because they're going over the line, and you're blaming like the victim for that by saying, well, you shouldn't have came out and said you want to be the victim for it, right? There's no excuse for that. There you're showing me that you have no moral compass right there. So that's me losing respect for you again. All right, so you're going to say, all the rookies who were drafted higher than Reese, like Rakia, Aaliyah Edwards, Cardoso, JC, just focus on basketball and receive zero hatred. Reese is the only one who behaves obnoxious. Well, I don't know what you mean by behaving obnoxious and all of that. I don't see what you're talking about. Now, Rakia and them none of them really focus on basketball. Rakia actually, has endorsements. Rakia actually is very she's on social media, all those types of things. Aaliyah Edwards, I don't know. Cardosa, well, she has a different attitude than Angel Reese. But what you're missing here with all of that is the fans who don't like Angel Reese do so because Angel Reese has the history against Caitlin Clark. The obvious one, of course, is which she helped to deny Caitlin Clark a finals victory. Okay, and then she mocked her with the pointing to the finger thing. That's really the origin of it all. And you know that, bro. Like, Rakia and them never had that history with Aaliyah Edwards, Cardosa. But the question is, okay, you had a problem with her doing that to Caitlin Clark. That's fine. But how far do you go with it? Right? Do you just now go make up lies about Angel Reese? Go up there trying to say Angel Reese is a hoe, a prostitute without evidence. You go out there acting like she's doing something way out of the ordinary because she takes pictures modeling pictures for swimsuit, but you ain't got the same smoke for Haley Van Lith and all of that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about, the hypocrisy that you do show, right? I've seen actually one dude come on Haley Van Lith's thing, under a picture, Haley Van Lith on her Instagram has her little swimsuit thing, and I saw somebody underneath comment, and this is what Angel Reese wishes she was, right? As if Angel Reese wishes she was a shorter little white girl, accepted. Those are the things that people have a problem with, right? And if you don't get that, then there's something wrong with you. And if you're a black man, you're actually more of a disgrace than I thought. Right, but you are starting to strike me as a coon. But I don't know. I don't even know if you're black, white. I don't know what you are, right? Because you hide your face. You bend over backwards and use all types of nonsensical mental gymnastics to continuously try to bring down Caitlyn just to elevate her. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I discussed Caitlyn's game. Things I've said about Caitlyn's game are things that she's actually admitted, like she needs to add a mid-range, and that she needs to, add a floater. And she needs to improve on defense, which I'm sure she's aware of, and I'm sure Stephanie White will be getting on her about, right? And I do that for any player. Angel Reese needs to improve her efficiency. She needs to improve her, her point of release. She needs to do that higher. A number of different things, okay? I will criticize any player where it's necessary. Now, Caitlin Clark gets more criticism from me than Angel Reese because of how Caitlin Clark is praised. Nobody goes around saying Angel Reese is the greatest player of all time, whereas people do that for Caitlin Clark. So that's why I spend more time with Caitlin Clark, because that's a statement that's very disrespectful to the women who have played before, and it's just a flat out lie, right? There have been plenty of women who are better than Caitlin Clark. And just because you're ignorant of that, that's on you. Or just because you're under some magical spell that the media has under a lot of y'all, that's your problem, right? Sadly, the first and probably only thing you notice when you watch sports is the color of her. All right, see, now you're talking stupid, so now I'm just going to ignore you, right? That's what you're going to do. I don't have time for that, all right? So that's the end of your comment. All right, let me try this again. And this is Brother Robbins or Rollins. I'm not sure how it goes. He said, here, let me try this again since you didn't respond last time. Does YouTube support live voice chat? Because I've never seen anyone voice chat through YouTube live. It's not that hard to make it Discord. Yeah, Robbins, when I go live, I usually use StreamYard, okay? So if you attend any of my lives, I will drop the link. If you hit the link, then I can invite you onto the stage, and that's the way we would do that. All right, so this brother here is another Caitlin Clark fan. I don't know his race or anything. Not that that's really important. I don't know, but the point is, this is an example of a Caitlin Clark fan that's respectful. I disagree with most of his positions, but he's respectful. That's all about the truth guy. He's very belligerent, he's very ignorant. Because what he does is he puts words in my mouth and all these types of things. I'm not going to block him because he's not a threat to me or anything like that, but he is quite annoying. He's to the point now I'm just going to have to ignore him. All right. Let me see. What else do we have here? There's a couple of dudes I'm looking for. All right. So then there's other by Israel. Viloda. Israel's a little bit annoying, but he's cool. I don't really have a big problem with Israel. He just rides hard for Caitlyn, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. Just don't put words in my mouth, bro. We good. He says, y'all really don't know basketball. Plus minus sometimes is dumb stats. I swear y'all guys who comment on your videos are even dumber. Let me give you an example of how plus minus can be dumb. CC plays all 40 minutes too. Sky 90. Fever 60, 30, minus 30. Sky 90, Fever 60, minus 30. Fever 76, Dream 73, plus 3. Fever 80, Liberty 76, plus 4. Fever 83, Lynx 82, plus 1. Fever 88, Suns 82, plus 6. All right, so basically what you're doing is you're just saying because he scored more points, okay, I see, you're not an ad. Okay, good. Fever 4-1, but CC is plus minus is 1.6. So CC sucks because her plus minus is minus 16 points. No, what it means is CC's not good on defense. But I would have to really do that, I would have to look at each individual game and see what our individual performance was. That's the only way I could come to a conclusion with that. Just you putting these games up here doing that doesn't mean anything right now. Like I'm not saying you're a dishonest person, but you could be dishonest, or you could be not getting things right. You could be misunderstanding something. All right. But if you look at Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark's game, I mean, it's easy to see why Angel Reese would have a better plus minus than Caitlin Clark, because Angel Reese is a defensive player. And Angel Reese also doesn't turn the ball over as much as Caitlin Clark does. Okay, so like your plus minus factors into all of those different things. Or PER rather, the player efficiency, definitely. Your your turnovers factor into that. So Israel says she took her out in the beginning of the season. The last time she took her out was in the Phoenix game when CC was 1 rebound short of her first triple-double at that time. All CC fans was tight, and she took her out when she took her out. Okay, so you remember that because it was a triple-double thing, right? So there we go. But Angel Reese is the stat pattern, right? Angel Reese is the stat pattern, but Caitlin Clark fans get mad when the coach takes Caitlin Clark out because they're watching that she's just 1 rebound away from a triple-double. This is the type of stuff that gets me about them. They're interesting. They're very interesting. I know that was before All-Star break. I know what plus minus. I just gave y'all example on the other text. The notion defense wins championships in this era is laughable, especially in basketball. Why would you say that when the team that won the championship, the New York Liberty, they were the second or third ranked defense in the league, and the team they played, the Minnesota Lynx, had the first ranked defense. All right, so both teams who were in the championship game were top 3 defenses in the league. All right, then if you look at the NBA, the Boston Celtics had a top 2 defensive rating in the league. So why would you say that's laughable? Like that's weird. Then he says, I swear AR code following is funny. HD, so now he's talking about welcome to HD TV, brings him into this for some reason. Says HD says Raven Johnson is the best point guard in the nation. I don't care if her defense was MJ and Hakeem combined. She averaged 5 points a game. Nobody cares about her leadership quality. Leadership quality means I can't play, but is a team player. All right, so I can't speak for HD, but I just knowing him for the little bit I do, he likes Raven Johnson because Raven Johnson is a traditional point guard. He's a classic point guard. All right? Like, you may not understand sometimes, like, that type of stuff. I don't know, because I don't know who your team is, whether you're the Golden State or what. But Raven Johnson is a classic point guard. Doesn't turn the ball over. Handles her defense. She's very great on defense. Now, as far as her scoring, she averages 5 points a game, but what does that matter if your team is winning titles? If your team is losing, like last year where they were undefeated, not this particular season, but last year they were undefeated. This year where they lost 3 games, made it to the championship game, right? If you have 5 players functioning in a system and each player doing their part, what does it matter that she's averaging 5 points? And then to say nobody cares about her leadership, that's ridiculous. She's a starter on a major program in college. So apparently Dawn Staley, who is one of the best basketball minds, period, in basketball, cares about it. That's why she starts her, right? So to say nobody cares about it is all of that is just, what are you talking about? You're just talking, right? Leadership quality means I can't play, but as a team player. Right, this is what I'm saying, and this is why we don't respect the, because leadership is something that's necessary in success, okay? And I'm sure this is why you say that, because Caitlin Clark actually doesn't have the reputation of being a good leader. Kate Martin, when she goes to The Aces, she says that, Agent Wilson is the best leader she's ever been around. Okay, and she was with Agent Wilson for half a season at the time, whereas she was with Caitlin Clark for 4 years? And she says that Agent Wilson is the greatest leader she's been around. All right, and then you got Maya Moore pretty much giving Caitlin Clark advice on, needs to be a better leader, really. That, or at least in year 2, she needs to focus on that, which implies that Caitlin Clark may not be, may not have good leadership skills. All right, so is that why you try to downplay leadership and you try to downplay defense? I don't know. It just makes me wonder. Then you got Tim Johnson. He's another one. He didn't really say much here. Let me see. I guess he mentioned something about the Fever made it to the playoffs. And that's the other thing with the Fever. Okay, it's good the Fever made it to the playoffs, but, stop acting like Caitlin Clark is carried them to the playoffs. So the Fever have a nice, well-rounded team. You have a dominant big in Aaliyah Boston. You have a great scorer in Kelsey Mitchell. You add Alyssa Smith, who was a high pick as well, very skilled player, and then you add Caitlin Clark, and then you have a nice defensive player, a rotational piece, but she's a good quality player in Lexi Hull. The Fever had a good team, and then you had good players coming off the bench. I like the fact Benlay. I like the other big, I forget her name. The Fever were a good team. And they were 500. Let's stop acting like, she led them to some 35-5 season or something. They were 500, 20-20. Good job, but come on, man. Let's not be ridiculous out here. Then he comes back and says, full-ass speaks, Raven Johnson played in Iowa. Sometimes somehow it becomes this Raven Johnson thing. Iowa would be 7-20. See, this is what I'm saying. I can't engage that because I don't know what Iowa would be if Raven Johnson was there. That's just, what does that mean? It's speculative. In 2025, you have to be a threat on offense. No, you don't. Raven Johnson is proof of that. She's on the team that won a championship. Defense can take you so far. Well, South Carolina is an argument against all of this stupid stuff you're saying, dummy. What are you talking about? South Carolina hangs their head on defense. Did you see the defense UConn was playing? It's defense. All right, I'm done. You're getting on my nerves now. Let's see. What is this stupidity? But right now Raven wouldn't be drafted or maybe late 3rd round, but she can only play. I don't know any of that. All of that is speculative. She could play with Liberty, Lynx, Aces, and Fever for 3 minutes. Yeah, that's a bunch of. Yeah, you don't know basketball to me. All right. The thing about basketball is after you score, you immediately got to play defense. That's what happens. Now the other team gets the ball. You got to play defense. But South Carolina is an argument against everything. Minnesota is an argument against everything you're saying. The team that your Fever lost to was the Connecticut Sun, a defensive team. Okay, the best thing about the Fever was they were a transition offense. The reason they got swept by Connecticut is Connecticut had the best transition defense. Defense is there to stop offense, and that's why they got swept. Right? You might say the same thing about Alyssa Thomas, about Raven Johnson. You might say the same thing. Can't score this and that. I don't know if Raven Johnson would score more in a different situation. She's not asked to score. I'm sure you probably never played on a team, so you don't understand that. They have their formula to win, and Raven plays that formula. If she was so bad, Dawn Staley, probably the she's a top 2-3 mind in basketball, wouldn't start her. It's really that simple. So you say, by your theory, Robert Horry is better than Charles Barkley. Listen to how he thinks. Look at this. He says, by your theory, Robert Horry is better than Charles Barkley and Karl Malone. Hey, Horry knows how to win. Okay, this is because I said that all Raven knows is winning, right? So my refutation there was I didn't even get in all deep into what Raven does because it's not worth my time. I basically said Raven wins, right? So he says, by your theory, this is how his thinking goes. Robert Horry is better than Charles Barkley and Karl Malone. right? Because I said Raven does is winning, and I really did that to give a shot at him because he is a Caitlin Clark fan who never won. It won the big. So hey, Horry knows how to win. His name is Big Shot Bob, being fourth option in all his team. But by your logic, he million times better than Barkley and Malone. You see how dumb rings talk is, right? So based on this, he's assuming or he's projecting that I think Raven Johnson is a better player than Caitlin Clark. All right. Number one, I never said Raven Johnson is a better basketball player than Caitlin Clark. Right? I don't believe that. Okay, but but they're two different types of point guards. Caitlin Clark is the combo guard type of point guard. Great playmaker, can light it up, if she gets hot, especially from beyond the arc. Raven Johnson is the defensive point guard. All right, but I get it why people think Caitlin Clark better than Raven. That's fine, okay? That doesn't mean I can't have Raven Johnson as a starting point guard on my team and beat a team that has Caitlin Clark. Matter of fact, Raven is the player I would get if I'm facing the Caitlin Clark team, actually, because like you can go to route trying to get a player that'll outscore Caitlin, or you can just force Caitlin to shoot a horrible percentage. There's two strategies you can take in basketball. Like, I don't know what you're talking about in this. I don't understand this. In 2025, you need this, and I don't believe any of that stuff. I don't believe any of that. What does 2025 have to do with basketball? Nothing. All right? You can go believe narratives if you want. You always know a narrative guy by when they say these types of things. You're a narrative guy. So anyway, you made this ridiculous thing here. What I would say about this as well, to even entertain the stupidity, if I may, Robert Horry is a horrible comp for Raven Johnson. Horrible. Okay? Really, because Raven is a point guard, right? A better comp for Raven Johnson would be someone like Maurice Cheeks. Okay, that's a better comp. Drew Holiday in his role on the on the Celtics, right? Because as a scorer, he's not dependent on the score, except for sometimes here and there, right? But he's there for defense, and he's there to get the offense going. You see, as the point man. Chauncey Billups might be another decent comparison, but I will go Maurice Cheeks. That's what Raven Johnson reminds me of. It reminds me of Maurice Cheeks. Maurice Cheeks is a guy who actually had more, I believe he had more steals than turnovers in his career. Something that Caitlin Clark will never be able to do, okay? One of the most slept on, but greatest point guards who's part of a championship team, Maurice Cheeks. All you got to do is ask Magic Johnson, ask guys like Isaiah Thomas about Maurice Cheeks, if you don't know. There was another comment from someone. And he keeps saying Raven Johnson isn't good, which is stupid, okay? It's just stupid. If all you care about is scoring, then I don't care about what you have to say. You're wrong. You're just wrong. I had another person commented that I wanted to deal with. Where are you, buddy? Where are you, man? Let's see. Where were my comments at? All right, here we go. Yeah, this is the guy I was looking for. Okay. This is another guy. He's pretty respectful, man. So I'll deal with him. He says the Natty is a team award. That's why everyone on the team gets a ring. No one is diminishing Paige Becker's championship, but when people come out and say she is a better individual player than Cece because she has a ring, it's stupid. All right, well, I never said that. I never used that as my reason, so you're not debating me, you're debating others who said that. Okay, and that's how you feel? Fine. Cece may not have the all-time record for points, and third all-time assists if she had been on a better team. That's true. Yeah. That's possibly true. Yeah. If it's true, then CC did more with less. Taking Iowa to the championship game 2 years. All right. See, now this is the problem here. This is the problem. The problem here is, on one hand, you're trying to establish as your premise that to win a national championship is a team award. By the same logic, to win any game at all is a team award. That's whether it's 1 game, whether it's 2 games, whether it's 10 games. To win any game is a team award, right? That's the way logic works, right? If your premise is that a natty is a team award, then by extension, every win is a team award, okay? So you can't use that and then try to argue that Caitlin Clark did more with less. It's still a team award. So either we're going to stay there or we're going to just be all over the place, not following any type of cogent thought or logic. All right. My all-time record for all third-time assists. If she had been on a better team, true or not, she's doing more with less. No, she's just scoring more points because that's the team that she's on and that's the system that they're running. There could be a number of reasons for that. There could be a number of reasons for it. It's possible. In other words, this is what I'm saying. There are players that players can play with that because of the nature of the player that they're playing with and the nature of the offense that they're running, that they could put up less points than they would in other situations. And that doesn't only go for Caitlin Clark, right? Because one could surmise that maybe Kate Martin would average more points if she was playing on Iowa with someone other than Caitlin Clark, and if she had a different coach than Bluter. Maybe another player on Iowa would average more. Like, you never know when you play the if game. But what we do know is that Iowa figured out a formula for winning. And that formula, okay, we give Caitlin Clark the green light, right? The rest of you kind of just run to catch passes. You set screens for her. You catch and shoot. Sometimes we let Kate Martin go off a little bit, right? Whatever the formula was, that's the formula that they established. That was the identity they went with. And that worked, right? I'd rather look at it that way than say she did more with less. She did what? More than less. If winning is a team award, right? We got to stay consistent with that, okay? Can't say a natty is a team award and then turn around and act like, Caitlin did more with less, okay? Just because of numbers. Numbers oftentimes are a product of the system that you're running and the freedom that a coach gives you. Like Gino Ariemo, who is the coach of UConn, he probably would not let a player play the way Caitlin Clark plays. Like, again, this is speculation, but there are a lot of coaches like that. Dawn Staley might not let a player play that way. Caitlin Clark was a unique player in a unique situation. In the game against South Carolina, she shoots 28 shots to score 30 points. That's very inefficient basketball, and every coach ain't with that. So, in the same way, Iowa had their formula that worked for them. The same way UConn had a formula that worked for them. It's more of a share the ball type of team. That's more emphasized, and Paige fits into that. I don't know how Paige would be on Iowa and vice versa. I don't know that, and I don't really spend a lot of time contemplating that. What I do know, or what I do believe, is that Paige could average more than 19 points. And I do this based on how easy her 19 is. She gets 19 on over 50% efficiency, 51%, sometimes 53% efficiency. At one point in the season, she was at 63% efficiency. throughout the first 8 to 10 games of the year. I've been tracking her. She's a very efficient player. If we used to play the speculation game, I could say if she was shooting as much as Caitlin Clark, she would average over 30. Like, one could do that and then assume that on the same efficiency that she would average more. So, if we played the efficiency game, I could say if Paige was in Iowa, she would be better than Caitlin Clark in Iowa. Maybe. I don't know. As far as, points. So that's why I don't get into all of that. When I judge the player, when I judge Caitlin Clark versus Paige Beckers, I look at the skill set. Basketball skills. Who's a better dribbler? Who is better at the layup package? Who has a better post game? Who has a better mid-range game? Who's better protecting the ball, right? Not turning it over. Who's better at defense? Okay? I look at individual skills. And based on that, I decide who's the better player. I'm not even looking at team success and stuff like that necessarily. The team success does factor in, but I'm kind of looking at the role the player plays in the team. And I like the way Paige Beckers leads the team. Don't have a problem with the way Caitlin Clark does it necessarily. A little too many turnovers for me. A little wild, erratic play a little bit. And I don't see logo threes as a smart shot selection. So those things kind of are negatives for me versus Paige. I think she's a much smarter decision maker out there, which I think goes into leadership as well. So, that's just the way that goes for me. All right, so you go on to say, it amazes me how you can't have a conversation about any of these other players without bringing CC into it. You can't just appreciate the lady. Where do you get that from? And it's not about talking about other players without bringing up CC. That's not what it is. What you don't understand is a lot of my videos are direct responses to people who made Caitlin Clark videos. I don't wake up in the morning and decide to talk about Caitlin Clark. What happened is I'm going through YouTube just like anybody else, and I see people talking about Paige Beckers and saying that she doesn't draw the crowd Caitlin Clark draws, or I've seen, and I can mention their names, I'm usually in response to them. And I think it's clear when you just listen to the opening of most of the videos where Caitlin Clark is mentioned. That's not true that I can't talk about them without talking about Caitlin Clark. That's not true at all. Could Paige or Angel beat CC 1-on-1? Maybe, but the game is 5-on-5. I don't get what you're getting to with that. Yeah, we understand that. With all of the individual accomplishments, still a team sport, still team wins. Okay, so why are you trying to make the argument? Then Iowa lost, and then that's it. Right? What are you trying to make the argument about who's the better individual player? I don't see why you wouldn't be arguing that Caitlin could beat them 1-on-1 because you think that she's doing more with less and all of that stuff, right? So you're kind of all over the place to me. Oh, almost forgot you said they just blew out the team that Caitlin Clark lost to. Picture that. So they lost to I said that? I don't think I said that. I think I did mention that there was when I did the breakdown of the games, I said there was no Camila Cardosa. There was no, Aaliyah Boston. This is one of the weaker South Carolina teams. That's what I remember mentioning. So they lost to the team because the players weren't the same. Weird how flexible that is. I'm not sure I said that. I think you may have misunderstood me there. All right, so that's where I'm going to stop at with that, man. Thank all you dudes for the comments, even you disrespectful dudes. I don't want this to be too long, man, so peace out.